I'm gonna use tape over these holes because it's more flexible. Basically, these cloths take up too much space and will get in my way and affect my ability to see. So we're gonna eliminate them. Alright, so we gotta be careful with this harness. It is awfully crunchy. I think we knew that, but there it is. Might need to get a bungee to hold that back. Alright, one of the next steps is going to be removing these 10 mils that hold on. I think they're just brackets for this wiring harness. This should allow us the movement in this harness to actually be able to unplug the stuff. So I'm trying to do everything before I have to pull the fuel lines. This is the part I'm probably the most nervous about, and that's disconnecting these injector clips. Sounds like I immediately broke that one. Yep, 100% did. God damn it, man. Working on cars, dude. This shit. I can also smell fuel before I've really disconnected anything, so my worst case scenario option had a field day. Every single connector for my injectors snapped. So this little tab broke on every single one of them. They're super thin and brittle, pretty common. Might not even be a big deal. I honestly believe that I could probably just plug those harnesses back in and leave it, just because there's so much tension on the wires, just because of the way it's set up. But there's a few options, so let's talk about it. Essentially, we have maybe 3 options. One, we can plug it back in. It will probably make a pretty secure connection, and it probably won't go anywhere. Probably the option that I'm going to choose. See how much time and what options I have. The other option is you can get just the pigtail, which would be the connector, and just some extra wires and splice those in. That's probably another option that I might consider. You want to make sure that your repair is not adding any noise to the system, which is like pretty likely, so avoiding solder might be the way to go on that. Now the third option, which is like the least likely, is replacing the whole harness, which is expensive and insane, so ain't nobody gonna do that. So I am gonna try and get this lower intake manifold off without removing the fuel rails whatsoever. So if I can do that, then I might just put it all back together and see what happens. But I really don't want to do this again, and there's only going to be one opportunity to really do this, which is why we're doing the EGR pipe and all this stuff, so we might as well do it right. Pretty much avoided it for as long as I possibly can, but I think it's time to remove some of the fuel components. I just had to run out and get this 22mm wrench, which should remove our pulsation damper on the fuel line there, and that will allow us to remove this. I really don't like the smell of fuel. I know a lot of car guys like to huff gasoline, but you know, it gives me a headache. Let's start off by removing some of these bolts. They're actually pretty straightforward to get to, I think. So when it comes to tools in hard to reach places, there's really kind of 2 really solid options that I would highly suggest investing in if you work on cars a lot. One is a set of wobbly sockets. These are snap-on, these are really nice. It's pretty worth getting a high quality set. I have absolutely heard of these breaking. I've heard stories of people who use cheaper wobbly sets. They use them on impacts, they shatter, and this goes flying out and cracks them in the skull. Wobble extensions are a good alternative. It's way cheaper to get a set of these than the actual wobbly sockets. Things like this make jobs of all kinds a lot more possible. And then one of the benefits of like the wobble extension is it just kind of helps you find the head. You don't really sacrifice a lot for it, but sometimes the extra movement is really annoying. I'm going to use the actual wobble sockets in this particular event, and we'll see how it goes. So just as I had my hand on this manifold, I felt it lift up a little bit. We have removed all of the bolts along here, and this thing should be free to come up. I do think we can remove the entire manifold with only doing 2 of the fuel lines, which we're going to undo now. It's still going to be a mess and a pain in the ass. I'm going to put some safety glasses on, and I'm going to go ahead and wear gloves. Don't really want it seeping into my flesh, and I don't really want it splashing in my eyes either. Over here, this big fuel damper. Uh-oh. Oh! My elbow just cracked the fuse block. When I say crack, I don't necessarily mean like destroyed it, but be careful. Maybe this is easier to do when the whole manifold's bolted down, but oh well. Oh, that's a lot of fuel. You know, before I do this, I'm going to take the gas cap off. Make sure it's not pressurized. It's seeping already. Yeah, this particular side seems like it wants to leak a lot more. This banjo union, there are 2 washers here. Be careful. Okay. Honestly, these washers seem like they're in pretty good shape. I'm quite pleased to see that. It seems like they're in really good shape. It should be pretty free to lift up and out of here. Let's see if we can actually do that. Ugh! Ugh! Ah! There she blows. Intake manifold is off. And we can now access this absolute torture fest of a starter motor. To say you need to be really careful about all the junk that is in here. Down in this V, you will find any bolts you dropped, dirt, coolant from your leaking head gasket. Just kidding. You will also find 2 of these sensors in here. These are your knock sensors. They detect knock in your engine. You want to be very careful not to upset them, touch them, break them, whatever. It's recommended to replace them. If you're careful, you can get away with not doing it. But now I completely understand why it's so difficult not to knock them. It's right there, and yeah. And we get a little more insight into the EGR pipe. We can see that it runs down there and further down the side of the car. Again, that's my biggest fear in this whole job, is dealing with that EGR pipe and getting it in right. It's going to be tough. The bolts that hold the starter motor in are tucked way back there on the opposite side of the block, so those are going to be tough to reach as well. Definitely should have got a flex head. Alright, there is not a doubt in my mind what step number next needs to be. I'm going to use my scissors to cut some of these cloths in half, and we are going to neatly and carefully stuff some paper into each one of these ports. And you want to be able to really stuff them in there because we don't want any little tiny specks of dirt going in. So I have this nice Milwaukee vacuum that will actually help me suck out all of the stuff in here. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use like my little pick thing, and I'm gonna come in here and I'm just gonna scrape up some of this stuff and agitate it pretty nicely. Get it all scraped up. You want to be careful, you don't really want to be scratching the mating surfaces. I'm actually going to go ahead and pull these gaskets out of here. Ton of dirt on that one. Because I'm not going to come in here, do all this work, and then have it not all be Gucci. Let's go ahead and use our handy dandy suck. I'm going to hit it with some super clean here. If I have any left. Alright, as I have explained on a few other things, one thing I really like to do is hit bolts or nuts to kind of loosen it. I think by doing this, you give yourself much more of a fighting chance of it not getting stuck. So I like to do that with just a punch. Alright, we return to see if we can finish this job. This is extremely stressful. I really don't enjoy this. Okay, the coolant bridge is out. This EGR pipe is now loose. There's a bracket on this cylinder head on the back that holds it in that needs to be removed. So now I've cleaned up some of the coolant in here. The coolant bridge is gone. I should be able to crawl underneath the car and undo the EGR pipe. That'll probably be just about as deep as we go. Once I install the new EGR pipe, then I'll install the new starter and we'll start working our way back. So yeah, ultimately I want to see if we could do 3 things today, and that's remove the EGR pipe and replace it, put in the new starter, and get it all ready to go. And then we're going to clean the intake manifold and do the injector O-rings. Alright, I'm going to show you underneath the car. So here we have the cat, and tucked way back in here is the EGR pipe. God, it's so hard to see. So there's the other end of the pipe that goes right into this exhaust pipe here. So looking back at this from way underneath the car, now I am directly underneath the transmission, looking towards the front of the vehicle. And this is how I access the bolt, guys. A really long 1/4-inch drive ratchet and a lot of bleeding. I'm actually loosening the nut right now. It might have just came off. My hand is way up there. Let's see. Yep, so it's getting to a point where it's possibly close to hand tight. Leverage is your friend here. I'm in so much pain. Always use jack stands. By the way, please, please, please be safe. Get a nice breaker bar to use as a pillow. It'll be cool, but kind of relaxing. I don't know. I think we got it. Because of the way these bolts are designed, it takes a lot for them to become hand tight, which sucks. And there they are, the two nuts that hold on the EGR pipe. Not easy to get to. Some people claim you have to remove the cat. It would certainly make it easier, depending on how bad your cat is. Considering all these cars have like 270,000 miles, it's probably pretty bad. So I'm referring to the rusted nuts. Yeah, it's that harness. Alright, our EGR pipe is removed. It's laying on the bench right there. Not too bad to snake it out. I pulled it up from the top. And looking closely, here we see our crack. Look at that. So that is the reason why we're replacing it. This is super common. And as you can imagine, exhaust gases puffing out of this can make a very annoying, very ticky, very irritating sound. Not to mention this is uncatalyzed exhaust gas. Basically leaks into the cabin from where it's positioned. So super annoying leak in my opinion. Either way, great time to do this when you're doing a starter, and yeah, it's likely broken because this is pretty common. I've seen it fail in videos and pictures in the same spot, especially on LexSLS.com. His failed in the same place. Should be able to remove our final bolt here. I'm going to climb up onto the car. And I should be able to just hang my ratchet down and get right on that socket. Yeah, baby. Oh, it feels so good when we know that the last bolt's gonna be a breeze, baby. Oh, yeah! Broke, no problem. Pull the ratchet out before I run out of space. See if we're hand tight here. Pretty close. Ugh. Alrighty, bolt. I gotta tell you, it feels great to have both of those bolts out. Let's see if we can pull the starter out now. I do have it unplugged, I believe. Takes a little wiggle. Uh-oh. So I do have one plug left. Oh wait. Oh wait. I do not in fact need to remove that. And just like that, the starter is removed. Well, that was easy. Alright, now put everything back. Alright, here is this big Toyota boy. Absolute majesty. So now we're going to clean up our crevasse and put the new one in and get out of here. Time to clean her out. It's a bit sludgy. To look pretty good. One thing I want to do is I want to clear some of this junk out of the runners. I used to be a complete clean freak, and I would probably be so much more anal about all of this. As I've grown older and as a professional technician, I've realized there's only so much you can do, and it's only so important. There is like a significant amount of sludge on the inside of here that I would like to clean out. What I'm more concerned about are these large chunky bits. I'm not going to get it back to its perfect aluminum color. However, there are some like large chunks that I don't really want falling off into my combustion chamber. One of my favorite tips for cleaning things out like this is if you get one of these claw tools, that open up, one of the things you can do is just use it to grab on to a paper towel. Now, this probably won't work with like those white regular paper towels. These are the blue shop cloths, so these are kind of thicker and tougher. These towels are really good at not falling apart completely. But what you can do is, yeah, just put it on there, and that way you can use it as a little ramrod to shove it all the way down, peek it out to say hello, and then pull it back out in one piece, hopefully. Other thing is, before you move on and install this, after doing all of this, I would try and blow some compressed air through each one of these ports just to make sure nothing loose is hanging out. Just get rid of it.